welcome everyone who is here. I am Bhante Warapanyo, and this is the Monk-Life Meditation Community. We are all gathering together at this moment to concern ourselves with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And the reasoning and intention for gathering together and concerning ourselves with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, or what we can say is Buddhism and meditation, practicing mindfulness and detachment, is because each and every one of us recognize that there is suffering. There is an unsatisfactoriness to the body. There is an unsatisfactoriness to the mind or mental formations. And because of that recognition, we have the sincere and heartfelt and strong intention to deal with that suffering. Because this is the fundamental focus of Buddhism, we can say that concerning ourselves with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha is a workable route to move forward in this ocean of can be stress, anxiety, confusion, mistakes, failures, ego, no ego, being good, being bad. It's easy to set up a goal that you meet or that you don't meet. It's easy to set up an idea that you take to be true and real, or an idea that you take to be false or not real. But it's very difficult to continue on this path of coming home to the present moment, being mindful, being aware of what's happening right now, and also to know about the truth and to move more and more in the direction of the truth, and to be able to ask this question in such a way that is not fully controlled by our desires and fears or our ego, our self-focused thinking, to ask the question of what is the truth? Not according to someone or some place or some time, not putting that question and naturally that answer outside of this moment, outside of this situation, outside of this heart, this body and mind, but actually taking on the full responsibility and the full capability to ask this question right here and right now. What is the truth? When we want to investigate this question, and we want to ask the ultimate question, we want to be concerned with, let's say, the ultimate matter. What is the truth? What is reality? What is fundamental? What is the ultimate spirituality? We can't really practice something like this. We can't be in this space, and we can't be receptive to the whatever value is here, whatever depth is here. We're not going to be able to be receptive to it if we are stone cold drunk, or if we are high on reefer, or if we have been spending a lot of time and energy through our mental, physical, or verbal actions to be unskillful, right? To harm the other, to take what's not ours, to be laissez-faire about our sexual energy, our sexual conduct, to be not mindful and not considerate about our mental, physical, and verbal actions moment by moment, if we're not careful, if we're not skillful in our overall way of living life, it's going to be very difficult to be here, because this being here is a unstable place, confused place. That means that we take on the responsibility to be mindful of and careful of and loving and kind with this body and mind. To be aware of mental, physical, verbal actions, moving forward. And now, be aware of your mental action, your physical action, your verbal action, and be willing to stop, whatever you can stop, just to sit down. We can focus on our breathing, we can relax the body, open our heart to the legitimacy, the importance, the viability, the reliability of kindness, of the capacity we have to embrace suffering and embrace this present moment experience of body and mind, to be aware. This is like a vacation, a Dhamma vacation, a Buddha vacation, a Sangha vacation. If we want to come home after being on vacation, we either need to be skillful and familiar with coming home, the place where we live or the place that is safe for us. We have to either be familiar with that through our experiences of going on vacation or leaving and coming back, or we need a map. We need direction. We need guidance. We need supporting framework. Or we need someone to help. We need to remember that there is a home. There is a place to come back to. There is a present moment. Let's start our practice today, where we will go into some really rich, really deep teachings from the Zen Masters of Old, the ancient Zen Masters. Really wonderful readings we're going to have today. But let's start that by listening together to 3 sounds of the bell, and allow that bell to invite us home, and to just stop and settle and breathe and be aware and embody that mindset of nowhere to go, nothing to do, no need to hurry. Just mindful, just aware, just with it. See what happens. Take a few deep breaths if needed. Bring the thinking mind home to the body. Aware of the heart, the body, the lungs. Relax the body. Open your heart and mind to the action of being aware of the body and the body relaxing. And in every noticing, every moment of noticing sensation in the body or a sensation in the mind, a mental or physical experience or sound, allow it to be the reminder to come home, to just be aware. No story, no going anywhere, no doing anything, no getting something, no success, no failure. No you, just coming home, just aware. Please try to stay in this mindset and this way of being that is meditative throughout our reading and teaching from the ancient Zen Masters. from one Zen master to another, to the great elder Yun of Yuan Shu. The masters of the school, since ancient times, were the people foremost in letting go. As soon as they showed up, they overturned the heavens and wrapped up the earth. Ultimately, how were they like this? It was just that they were, after all, single-mindedly correct. When false teachers, demons, and outsiders couldn't trap them, they had the spirit to transcend religion and go beyond convention, and did not form random associations. When it came to worldly fluctuations, they didn't have any dependency at all. They only made life and death foremost. And when they made it foremost, they didn't see that there was anything that died or didn't die. This is what the ancients worked on. Okay, a few points I want to bring up from this text so far. Overturning the heavens and wrapping up the earth, finishing, resolving everything, like a great conflict that is resolved in a moment, an instant, like a great fever that breaks. How were they able to do like that? It was just that they were single-mindedly correct. They were correct, they were true, they were free in one mind, one direct experience. They had, when false teachers, demons, and outsiders could entrap them. So when they encountered false teachers, demons, outsiders, complicated situations, or people, they couldn't be burdened by them. They couldn't be trapped by them. They couldn't be attached with them. So when they couldn't be trapped by false teachers, demons, and outsiders, those who didn't have an inside understanding, they had the spirit to transcend religion and go beyond convention, not rejecting religion, also not rejecting convention, but to transcend it, to go beyond it. Going beyond something is inclusive of that thing. And they did not form random associations. So they didn't just make things up. They didn't just cobble together ideas and stories and perceptions and kind of try to figure out what was going on. They went beyond convention, transcended religion. When it came to worldly fluctuations, when it came to pleasures, pains, success or failures, gain or loss, they did not have any dependency at all. They were free. They were independent in the midst of all worldly fluctuations. Gain and loss, praise and blame, pain, pleasure, boredom. They were constantly independent. They only made life and death foremost. So we are in a life and death situation. Whether we like it or not, that's the human condition. This is a life and death situation all the time, every time. You don't have to wait for your loved one to pass away to realize that. You can realize it now, or to get a health scare. So many people who find out they have cancer, they have a terminal illness. Sometimes these people come to me and ask me questions. And I'll tell them, we've all got cancer. We've all got a terminal illness. We are all going to die. We are all in a life and death situation. Some people know it, some people don't. So these great masters of old, they only made life and death foremost. They were primarily concerned with the great matter of life and death. And when they made it foremost, when they emphasized this above everything else, they didn't see that there was anything in particular that died or didn't die. This is what the ancients worked on. Here, you definitely need penetrating clarity, expanding it and making it complete, after which you can endure harsh methods. So we need to temper, we need to consolidate that intellect, that thinking mind, that contriving mind, that grasping mind onto the great matter, the great situation, the great experience right here and now. Couldn't be more practical, couldn't be more direct. You need this penetrating clarity, expanding that awareness, expanding that clarity, no obfuscation, no cloudiness, no vagueness about it. Expanding it and making it complete, after which you can endure harsh methods, all the different ways of deepening and approaching and being practical to do all kinds of good deeds limitlessly. When you reach the point where you can change in 1,000 ways, transform in 10,000 ways, you still may not be able to find your brains. So when you reach the point where you can change in 1,000 ways, so multifaceted, so dynamic, so exploratory, and you can transform in 10,000 ways, you still may not be able to find your brains. You still may not be able to find your source, your mind ground, your true self. And it's spoken about in the Chan tradition or the Zen tradition. We find our true selves by asking a great question, by developing this doubt, this questioning, this red-hot ball of wonder, not by cobbling things together and kind of trying to figure it out. What is this? What was my original face before my parents were born? Questions such as these to generate this doubt. What is this? And asking, just like a red-hot iron ball cannot be stopped by ice, cannot be held in the hand, right? But to really answer this question, you have to swallow that red-hot iron ball. In a single gulp. What is this? Now, when you reach the point where you can change in 1,000 ways, adapt all the time, when you can transform in 10,000 ways, evolve in all these kinds of ways, you still may not be able to find your brains. How much less will you be able to find your brains or your true nature if you are half in the darkness, half in the light, half clear and half raining? If you want to walk alone in the universe, then you cannot, right? There's that saying, there's no such thing as a halfway crook. There's no such thing as a halfway meditator, as a halfway Buddhist. You've got to practice it or get out of the way. That's it. There's no such thing as a halfway truth. If you're going to do it, do it. When it comes to this attainment from ancient times, so when it comes to this attainment, this realization of your true nature, finding your true self, recognizing your true self, recognizing the ultimate truth, the original truth. When it comes to this attainment from ancient times to the present, and we can also say this attainment of walking alone in the universe, step by step, breath by breath, free. when it comes to this attainment, from ancient times to the present, the one or a half who have managed to penetrate it. Okay, so when it comes to this realization, a true realization of the great matter and the great freedom, the true self, which is no self, not someone, the recognition that you are ever new impermanent nature. You, this whole big bag of you, this bag of blood, this bag of drama, anxiety, depression, confusion, relationships, everything. And we couldn't say that there's nothing more like real or important than this everything, this body and mind and my drama and my life, all this stuff. You can't say that it's just, oh, what are you talking about? This is everything, right? When it comes to this attainment of realizing that that is not someone, that this place is not some place, period. And from that position, that realization, walking alone in the universe. The trees, the clouds, the sunset, the sunrise, all going according to your nature, you. And even beyond that, only ever new impermanent nature. Even the mountains bow to you. When it comes to this attainment, from ancient times to the present, the one or a half who have managed to penetrate it, to really get it, were like hawks catching sparrows, like falcons catching pigeons. What effort did it take? Right? So this is like a great act. I mean, this is a better act than scoring a touchdown, more ferocious and fiery and life and death and right on the razor's edge. A falcon catching a pigeon, a hawk catching a sparrow. But what effort did that take? Was the hawk at the gym? Was the sparrow at a mindfulness meditation course to be right on the razor's edge? Were they meditating? Were they preparing for that moment? Looking back on what they had found out, so this is talking about those people from ancient times who have managed to penetrate this great matter. Looking back on what they had found out, what they had realized, what they had learned, what they had become immersed in, it just totally embarrassed them. Maybe we can say that from root to stem, it's not a big deal. Nothing too special. It's just ordinary. That is how we know the masters of the school, the Zen school, the Chan school, the Truth school, since time immemorial, were foremost in letting go. Only then did they get this handle that enabled them to overturn the heavens and wrap up the earth. So-called exceptional people who appear generations apart are not beyond this. Right, so let's listen to this part again. When it comes to this attainment, this realization, this enlightenment, from ancient times to the present, the one or a half, maybe not even one, the half, maybe not 1 in 10,000, but 1 in 15,000. The one or a half who have managed to penetrate it were like hawks catching sparrows, like falcons catching pigeons. What effort did it take? Looking back on what they had found out, what they had realized, what they had learned, what they had become immersed in. So after realizing this great matter, after realizing this great truth, looking back on everything, every view, experience, person, place, time that they had grasped, their realizations, their learning, their understanding, their immersion, their depth. It just totally embarrassed them. Only mindfulness and detachment, only awareness and uninvolvement, looking back at all that grasping, all that striving, all that clinging, all that chasing, all that accumulating, is just embarrassing. That is how we know the masters of the school since time immemorial were foremost in letting go. Only then did they get this handle that enabled them to overturn the heavens and wrap up the earth. So-called exceptional people who appear generations apart are not beyond this. Followers of the way in recent times don't work on the fundamental. They just value memorizing a lot in their guts to have something to say to government officials, supplying themselves with topics of conversation to be quick-witted, and call this the way of Chan, or the way of Zen. This is a big lie. The grave consequences it calls could not be absolved even if 1,000 Buddhas appeared in the world. So misunderstanding grasping, or misunderstanding ignorance and attachment, memorization, attachment, right, for some purpose, for some goal, to meet some standard, to get some profit, to avoid some loss. And considering this or calling this the way of mindfulness and detachment, this is a big lie. And the grave consequences it calls out could not be absolved even if 1,000 Buddhas appeared in the world. It's not about grasping. It's not about attaching to anything. Even samadhi, even special deep states of meditation, right? So what kind of practices are we doing? Don't be attached. Mindfulness and detachment. The fact is that the ancients never rationalized. The ancient ones, the worthy ones, our ancestors, our Buddhas. The fact is that the ancients never rationalized. They were uniformly simple, unseemly in 100 ways, clumsy in 1,000. It is just that they were extraordinarily awake inside. That's what matters, not the appearance, not the robes, not the style, not the attainments, not what you've learned, not what you've accumulated, right? There's the story of the great emperor of China inviting the founder of Chan, or the founder of Zen, Bodhidharma, to his estate. And the emperor said, I've built all these temples, I've made all these donations. Because of me, Buddhism is flourishing throughout the country, throughout the lands. What kind of merits, what kind of high results have I gotten for myself through these practices, through everything that I've donated, all the support that I've given? How much benefits have I gotten? Bodhidharma said, not a single one. You've got nothing. And then the emperor said, who are you? You know, the emperor's a little bit perturbed. They invested all this, and now the Bodhidharma is saying, I've got nothing for you. You've got nothing for yourself. The emperor said, who are you? Who is this monk that speaks to me like this? And Bodhidharma said, I don't know. And, Bodhidharma wandered off. wandered off after talking with the emperor, after being this big shot, such a big shot in Buddhism that he's invited to the emperor's castle. How can he just walk off? To walk alone in the universe. Penetrating clarity, expanding it and making it complete. The fact is that the ancients never rationalized. They were uniformly simple, unseemly in 100 ways, clumsy in 1,000. It is only that they were extraordinarily awake inside. One day they suddenly bit through the 5-colored rope, red, green, blue, purple, saffron, leaped out of the deep pit of liberation, passed through beyond enlightenment and beyond illusion, no doubt inexpressibly joyful. Those who are attached to liberation are attached. Those who are attached to Buddhism and the path to enlightenment are attached. There's no rationalization that's going to get you through it. How can we control this life? How can we walk alone in the universe with mindfulness and detachment? How do we support, develop, practice mindfulness and detachment? Through doing good deeds more and more. Doing good deeds with mindfulness and detachment. Concerned with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. In this way, we will be safe. And if you get attached to that, you don't understand what to do. So, you should emphasize to do good deeds more and more, to be mindful more and more, to detach more and more. In olden times, national teacher Zong taught students, body and mind are one. There is nothing else outside the body. Now, this is kind of a rich teaching, right? Because a lot of our sickness, a lot of our illness, especially for modern people where we have modern healthcare and can have quite good conditions for being protected from the elements and from viruses and being vaccinated, all these things. So we deal with a lot of mental illness, a lot of mental suffering. So this teaching here, National Teacher Zong would teach students, body and mind are one. There is nothing else outside the body. This body is the mind. Where's the mental illness? Where's the anxiety? Where's the depression? Where's the non-practical, complicated thinking? Where's the nightmare of this life? This mental confusion. Just be aware of the body, right? Just be mindful. And there's quite a safety, at least for me, unless your body's in extreme pain, you can solidify your mental health you can heal your mental health by just being with the body, being mindful. That everything's right here. That real true person, a real true story is not other than this body. The body is the mind. National Teacher Zong would teach that way. But Zen Master Yun Men said, where are mountains, rivers, and land? See how he added a footnote, far and away transcendent. Right? Listen to this. In olden times, National Teacher Zong taught students, body and mind are one. There is nothing else outside the body. Nothing else outside the body. No real world, no real people, no real situation, no real places, nothing. There is nothing else outside the body. Zen Master Yunmen said, "Where are mountains, rivers, and land?" See how he added a footnote, far and away transcendent, widening out, brightening out, expanding out. With a single blow of the hammer, he required you to walk calmly in the blue sky. Even so, even if you do so, this is still lingering in the grass and sticking to the trees. So that's our first reading. We've got another second reading we can look at together. But let's stop here for a moment and see would anyone like to share or ask a question? Okay, I see from Risham. Risham says, even pain helps focus the mind. In my seizures, I have nowhere to go but to my breathing. I think that's quite a powerful mindset as well to bring to our mental or physical sufferings that arise. Nowhere to go but to my breathing. Nowhere to go but to doing good deeds, but being mindful, but being detached, aware but not identified with. Just aware, brightening that mindfulness, that awareness, that looking, that facing. And through that, developing a deeper insight, not just into the content, whether it's painful or pleasurable in terms of the body or the mind, but the principles of content. The principle of arising and passing away of nama rupa, name and form. That the foundation of this body is not someone, but ever new impermanent nature. The foundation of life is death. And if we make the matter of life and death the most essential and the most important matter, if we take the responsibility to look at this and understand this life and death situation, we may see for ourselves directly, experientially, that there is not something that lives or dies. That these are notions, these are views, these are beliefs of ignorance and attachment. And that recognizing that is not some kind of morbid discouragement for living life, but it's actually an opening and a brightening and a widening out of everything. of walking independently, walking freely on the sky, drinking the clouds, smoking the stars, eating the mountains and rivers. Talk about nourishment, right? Okay, let's go to the next reading here. And this was a letter sent to Chan Man Jiao. It's interesting to experience from a place of not knowing, to exercise that and kind of empower this understanding through experiencing, understanding through responsibility of this is it, this is reality, this is my experience, and I am the sovereign of truth. And that I is just kind of a placeholder for that looking into, for that showing up, for that being, that direct experiencing. That questioning as the answer. Enlightenment. And when we say enlightenment here, we're talking about freedom. We're talking about a embodiment of the ending of suffering, to experience suffering coming to an end, to experience our dream, our nightmare, our boredom disappearing in an instant. One way I think we can talk about it is like a great calamity. Only this is or a great mistake. Only this is the great mistake of freedom. This is the great calamity of peace. And it's ultimate. It is great. And even to talk about it in terms of name and form, right? We're 1,000,000 miles away. The ultimate is called the ultimate for a reason. The original is called original for a reason. Right? What is the truth? And not just settling for anything in particular, any experience in particular, any person in particular. It's like death. When death comes to meet you, when great calamity comes to meet you, where is the past and future? You can't settle. Death won't settle for anything else but everything. Death won't settle for anything else but everything. That's what it takes. Everything. And this is everything. But we may not see it. So luckily we have these letters and these teachings, which there are many, but let's see what this one is. To Chan Man Jiao, Zen Man Jiao. Enlightenment is beyond verbal explanation. This is really special, this one. There has never been anyone who gets it. That's the answer. That's the answer to spiritual gurus and, people who are trying to sell you on some kind of belief system, or that they're enlightened, that they're this ultimate person, okay? Enlightenment is beyond verbal explanation. There has never been anyone who gets it. You are not someone. I am not someone. There has never been anyone who gets it. Take out the anyone, who gets it. Take out the who, get it. Take out the get, it. Take out the it. Zen Master Deshan said, "Our school has no statement and not a single doctrine to give people." Zen Master Joshu said, "I don't like to hear the word Buddha. See how they blew sand and rolled stones. Already this is blinding people. If you go on to look for a way to live on a staff, or seek a statement of success from a shout, that is no different from looking for elephant tusks in the mouth of a rat." Okay, this is a practical point again about this way of approach. So if you go on to look for a way to live on a staff, if you go on to look for a way to be this Zen master, right? Or you seek a statement of success from a shout. So sometimes in certain Zen temples, in certain monasteries, they will have a system of testing. So like an interview, where maybe, let's say, you will go to sit in front of the monk, and they will say, "What is this?" and hold up their staff. And then maybe you want to give them a shout. You want to show them you've really got it. You want to answer the koan. You want to express your enlightenment, right? And looking for a way to live on a staff is almost, it's actually the teacher in that situation holding up the staff and saying, "What is this?" Right? And we're not rejecting that practice, but we're saying if you're attaching to it, if you're seeking it out, if you're trying to get to that point, well, what's that like? So if you go on to look for a way to live on a staff, or if you go on to look for a way to be a teacher, or seek a statement of success from a shout, find a way to be a successful student, that is no different from looking for elephant tusks in the mouth of a rat. That is why this one experience has always been preserved. It is just a matter of not wasting any time 24 hours a day, working to reach where there is no place to grasp, where there is nowhere to lodge. Then it is necessary to let go and bring about empty stillness, clear and calm, and make it impossible for previous intellectual interpretation, realization, wrong knowledge, and wrong views to get into the act. This is the essential path into the way. This is the essential path into authentic, true enlightenment. One day you will clearly understand what is right at your feet, penetrate thoroughly, and go free. And you won't be turning your back on Shakyamuni Buddha's painstaking care. Let's read this last paragraph one more time. Looking to be a teacher or seeking to be a successful student, that is no different from looking for elephant tusks in the mouth of a rat. That is why this one experience has always been preserved. It is just a matter of not wasting any time, 24 hours a day. Where is 24 hours a day? Where is not wasting time? Breathing in and breathing out. Working to reach where there is no place to grasp, where there is nowhere to lodge, nowhere to rest your head. Then it is necessary at that place where there is no place to grasp and nowhere to stay, then it's necessary to let go and bring about empty stillness, clear and calm, and make it impossible for previous intellectual interpretation, rationalization, wrong knowledge, and wrong views to get into the act. Make it impossible for previous intellectual interpretation, rationalization, wrong knowledge, and wrong views to get into the act. This is the essential path into the way. One day you will clearly understand what is right at your feet. Penetrate thoroughly and go free, breaking all chains, all commitments, all deals, all expectations, and you won't be turning your back on Shakyamuni Buddha's painstaking care. You won't be turning your back on this great compassionate life and teaching and way that Shakyamuni Buddha, the original Buddha as far as we know, laid out and walked for us. Now, from the Western background, this is definitely getting into the weeds, but I'm passionate about this. From the Western background, we tend to be raised in a secular way. We're very educated and we're very materialistically wealthy, right? America is not Pakistan, right? We have a different experience of life, or is not, places in the Middle East or my goodness, Gaza or the West Bank. There's a lot of privilege. There's a lot of wealth. There's a lot of good conditions. And because of that, we tend to be arrogant and maybe a little bit anti-religious or not open to the validity of certain traditions that aren't just materialistic and secular in nature. But when we look at Buddhism, and when we look at the tradition of Buddhism in terms of spirituality or in terms of meditation, in terms of enlightenment, it is unparalleled, for sure. There's no other school or tradition or great teacher that has done what Shakyamuni Buddha and his ancestors and his tradition has done. Nothing even comes close in many dimensions. So concerning ourselves with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, not turning our back on the Buddha's compassion, not rejecting the teaching, not rejecting the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha is essential. But to really not do that, not reject it anymore, you have to stop rejecting everything. You have to stop grasping everything. You have to detach. You have to be mindful. You have to become skillful in letting go. We have to become skillful in being mindful. And then, one day you will clearly understand what's right at your feet. Penetrate thoroughly and go free. And you won't be turning your back on Shakyamuni Buddha's painstaking care. Let's listen to 3 sounds of the bell. Okay, dear friends, dear Sangha, if you have any questions or would like to share your experience, we will have some time for that, as you like.
Well, I have a question. What do you think happens when we die?
The question's a little bit too easy. Maybe you can say a little bit more? Make it a little bit more difficult?
Is there a more difficult question than that one?
What is life and death? What are we really talking about? What does it mean to live? What does it mean to fully recognize the depth of being alive, what that means, what that experience is? It's just like your body, to really realize what your body is, because your thought of the body is not the body. What you think about the body is explicitly not the body. What you think about death is explicitly not death. What you think about life is explicitly not life. It's your thoughts about it. It's your intellectual interpretation of the present moment experiencing. So the work here is that, yes, these things come up, these questions are raised, and then we penetrate into the direct experiencing. And because in Buddhism, we don't emphasize answering these kinds of questions. The understanding about birth and death from the Buddha is a matter of the deepest, most profound, most 24/7 subtle meditation that is humanly possible. That's Panya, rebirth, or the Buddhist understanding of rebirth or reincarnation, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it, right? Is Panya. So the path of Buddhism is Dana, Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Firstly, become skillful to be generous. Secondly, it's not directly just one after another, but this is quite a workable way to approach it as well. Become skillful at following precepts. So become skillful at regulating and being mindful of your mental, physical, and verbal actions. 3 is Samadhi. Now you're going into deep meditation. Now you're meditating for hours. At least, let's say, Samadhi. And you're not just meditating for hours, but you're having an absorption. You're having a depth of experience, right? You're having experiences where you have more clarity and more presence of mind than you usually do, but that experience is not content related, right? It's not transactionally related. It's not rationalization related. It's not you and this person and that situation and paying your bills related, and yet all the clarity is there. Okay? From that, we start to develop panya, or we start to develop wisdom. We start to develop insight. And the teachings on dependent origination, which is where the Buddhist understanding of rebirth or birth and death comes from, is to the very depth of reality of the mind. So practice is the answer. What happens after you die? Practice. You need to make that commitment. You need to make that resolve, right? What am I going to do when this human life ends? I'm going to keep practicing. I'm going to keep being mindful. I'm going to keep showing up, because when the meaning in life is found in double stuffed Oreos and milk, okay, it's confusing. What's life going to be after I die? Am I going to have more double stuffed Oreos and milk, or am I going to, be in hell or heaven, right? But when we start to concern ourselves more and more with the practice of mindfulness and detachment, the practice of living a virtuous life, the practice of generosity, it's very clear what life is going to be after this body is done or dead, right, or changes. It's going to be showing up and practicing, because this is what the purpose of life is. And whatever happens in death, my recognition or my awareness or whatever I am in that, whatever we can speak to about that, is going to be my present moment actions that lead to success and freedom and peace and joy, not about grasping. So that question itself is easy to answer, but it's difficult to ask. It's difficult to question, right? So emphasize the questioning and emphasize the present moment action of mindfulness and detachment. This is it. This is the home of birth and death. So look into it, investigate it. Your life, and it's not necessarily clear what that is, because we can get very caught in the weeds about what we think and the stories we tell. Your life is here to be experienced and be mindful of. And that life carries within it its ending. Life and death are go together. But I think maybe the deeper question is, what is beyond life and death? What is beyond birth and death? And that's a question you can ask deeply and consistently and practice with. Okay? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. It's a good question. What is beyond life and death?
I like that question, and I don't know why it's all the time so complicated, the response of that. And I understand you try to make us understand something, but I'm more confused after the answering than before. Because before I have my own answer, and after I have your deconstruction. You want to deconstruct our mind and our thought, and so it gets a little bit difficult after.
So this is a meditation method that we can apply. It's all about application. It's all about practice. Theory is not much important, and I'm not very concerned with theory. I don't put much energy into theory. I try to share my experience as best I know, but in terms of theory, I am emphasizing practice. So you will develop your theory through practice. And here we've worked with before this meditation method of Huato, which is a kind of an open-ended question, but also a great question that we ask as our meditation practice. We kind of ask this question, and in this questioning, there arises a kind of curiosity or a wonder or a doubt. And here, this question, what is beyond life and death, this may be a practice that you can use, right? And you can inform your theory through it if that's your interest. But what's most important is to develop this sense of curiosity, this sense of wonder, this sense of doubt. Okay? Rashim said we gain the don't know mind by losing our answer. Only don't know. We gain the don't know mind by losing our answer. Only be mindful and detached. Only don't know.
I have a question. Well, mine is a theory.
Go ahead.
I believe that first, you can't go that far until you be more aware of yourself, the changes that self goes through, to be able to be aware of it and detach from it through your medication by centering in the oneness in the present time. Now, when I take my mind to the point to what happens after, what happens when you die, I draw a blank. Who knows that? So if I try to think about it, then it's a thought or imagination. It's not real. It's just something that I'm assuming, because no one knows. Unless you had experience of death and came back.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't really know that answer either.
So when we experience in applying this meditation method, when we ask a great question like this, what we will experience is space. We will experience not answering, the emptiness of mind. Exfoliate and emphasize the emptiness of mind with that curiosity, with that wonder, with that doubt. So it's not that we repeat the question again and again. If you're a complete beginner, that's one of the ways you can enter into this kind of practice or explore it. But once you develop some experience, now the question is a great question, and most answers won't suffice. Most thoughts or ideas or what have you won't be sufficient for that questioning. So it's just the questioning itself, not the thought. It's the space before the thought arises. And opening, unfolding that, energizing that. There is more intimacy in not knowing. There is more truth in not knowing. And there's more efficacy in not knowing. We basically don't know anything in whatever way you want to understand it. Everything around you, in all the different countries, all over the world, all over the universe, all the people, etc., you basically know nothing. So that not knowing mind, that only don't know mind, it has a lot of efficacy to develop your relationship with that and your comfortability or your experience of that don't know mind. Make it powerful. Only don't know. And then when that knowing or that grasping starts to come up in meditation, in asking a great question, you go back to the question itself.
Then we just there.
Just there. Just don't know. But that's not a passive state, it's active, it's wonder, it's curiosity, it's doubt.
Did you travel?
What's that?
I say, when you're in that empty space, can you travel?
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
Well, if I take my mind there, and say, for instance, the first story that you told, what came across my mind is once I'm in that space and there's nothing around me, I can't imagine just being still like that. I have to be curious, and through in that space, gotta go and find what's there.
That's in the
That makes sense.
questioning. That's in the doubt. That's in the that's the energizing of doubt. What is this? But that energy becomes more and more subtly applied. So it's not yelling at someone, "What is this?" But it's, "What is this?" And it's very sincere and robust, and it's exfoliating. It's more and more clarity, more and more brightness to this questioning, more and more penetration to it. And then if
Could
you
you
feel you come
tell
up
us
with an
your
answer,
experience?
well, that's what I'm telling you now. This is my experience. And if you come up with an answer, you can then check or you can test that answer with someone. You can share your experience with a teacher or someone who specializes in this method, and they would say, "Oh, that seems pretty good," or not. But the reality of this practice is, don't know only. Practice only. Practice for 1,000,000 eons. Practice for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and you might start to get a taste of it. You might start to have an experience of it. There's no, when am I going to get it? I've been doing this for an hour. Am I enlightened yet? Or even 100 hours, or even 1,000 hours, or even 10,000 hours. Actually, there's one teacher who said, at about 10,000 hours, you'll start to have some degree of a difference in terms of meditation. But
That's
here,
some deep meditation.
well, it's a deep life that we're living, and we've got to approach it in that way. But where is 24 hours a day? It's right here. It's in this breath. Where is life and death? It's right here in this breath. Where is reality? It's right here in this breath. You can intellectualize it all you like. Anyone. We have that capacity. That's our special human ability. But that intellectualization, or that knowing understanding, is understanding with limit. It's understanding according to causes and conditions. It's understanding according to someone at some place, at some time, some situation. So, where is birth and death in the deathless? What is it that dies in the deathless? But we don't get stuck in the contrivance. We don't get stuck in the contradiction. Contradiction in itself is a contradiction. Just be mindful. Just detach. Just abandon. Someone in particular who is asking a question. What you do and what you don't do are to be done only and not done only. Not someone who's doing it.
You said what you do, and then you said not do only. But that's like you saying one thing and then you say something else.
No, no.
So you saying
what you do,
go ahead.
what you do and what you don't do is to be done only and not done only. That means in eating, eating only, in breathing, breathing only, in drinking, drinking only, in not drinking, not drinking only. Not why.
Oh,
Why is for whiners.
yeah.
No
So it's two
whiners allowed in
separate.
Buddhism. Why? Why was I born? No, this is true. This goes back to the Buddha.
Yeah.
Because people would come up and said, "Why is the earth like this? What? Who created the earth? Is there a beginning?" The Buddha wouldn't answer them. It's not about why. It's not about creating a framework for understanding our psychology. It's about mindfulness, present moment awareness, and detachment. Detachment is in drinking tea, just drink tea.
Other side, don't drink tea.
That's right. Only. Nothing else added.
Only.
Not the kind of tea,
Okay.
where it came from, this and that, and da 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 da.
Not important.
Yeah. Well, it can be practical. So we're not rejecting that. Not important is not that it doesn't exist, not that we can't use it, but in using it, it's to be used only and experienced only, moment by moment, breath by breath, breathing only. It's like when we practice generosity. So when people in Buddhist countries, especially Southeast Asian Buddhist countries such as Thailand or Myanmar, every day they will donate food in the monks' bowls. So they will directly put food into the monks' bowls, and depending on where it's at, the monks will go around into the village or in the city with, holding their bowls and receive their food for the day. Depending on where it's at, the person will give the food to the monk, and then they may have an expectation. They want the monk to chant. They want the monk to give them a blessing. They want the monk to do something for them, or they want to get something back in a subtle way from what they give. This is not important. Giving only, offering only, right? And it goes also with the monk. For the monk, it's not that important to receive food for the day. Receiving only is important. You don't need there's too much attachment to even things about eating, right? So then you're not eating only. There's too much attachments about sleeping. So then you're not sleeping only. It's, I didn't get enough sleep, and I should go to sleep now, and I'm supposed to be awake, and doing only, experiencing only, not all this extra added confusion. Even in the things that
Less
seem to be
stress.
wholesome or righteous or, true. Like, I'm doing a good thing. I'm given to the monks. So, now they're supposed to bless me or chant for me. Just give. And for the monk, just receive. That's where the power is. That's where the freedom is. In the seeing, see the seeing only. And we can. I see Sonia here, and I see Christina here, and known about them for a while. They've known about me for a while. But rather than them as being someone's, or, this person that I'm seeing only is there. The seeing faculty. See, seeing, breathe, breathing, right here, right now. Not about getting some goal or some success or some enlightenment, some attainment, some realization, some healing. Those things will happen. We will experience that for sure. We will have the success for sure. But it's more important to practice mindfulness of your mental, physical and verbal action, and a willingness to stop and step back from that mental and physical and verbal action.
Review.
Review is more like more of a spiritual practice. So something you do at the end of the day before you go to sleep. You can review the day and your activities, and what you were successful in, what mistakes you made. But then you could just go to sleep. Don't spend too much time emphasizing what you've done or what you haven't done. Emphasize the present moment action of mindfulness. The present moment action of being willing to abandon, to stop, to let go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're at the almost the hour and a half mark. So maybe if there's any final question, you can share, and otherwise we'll finish with sharing the merit. So when we do good deeds, when we practice meditation, we get the effect from doing good deeds. And so collectively we've been practicing that together. At the end, we can share that merit or share the good effects from doing good deeds, not just to keep it for ourselves, but to dedicate it, to offer it out toward all beings. Past, future, near, far away, good, bad, just to offer out. And then at the very end, we will say sadhu 3 times. And sadhu means, well done, good job. This is good. And we need to recognize what is good. In the same way, we need to recognize what is unskillful, so that we can support ourselves to do good more and more. Well done, and also may it be. This word sadhu has a lot of different meanings, but let's share the merits, okay? Everyone can bring their hands together. And also, please unmute your mic if you can, so I can hear you as you repeat after me. Also, the reference for the readings we did today is available on the Discord in the events text channel. Okay, please repeat after me. May all the merits that we have done till now
May all the merits that we have done till now
be dedicated and shared out
Be dedicated.
dedicated and shared out
toward all sentient beings.
toward all sentient beings.
May all sentient beings
May
All sentient beings
rejoice and share in our merits.
Rejoice and share.
rejoice and share in our merits.
Sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu, sadhu. Okay, dear Sangha, thank you for your practice, and see you again soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.